Welcome to this episode of Horrific History and Hauntings. I'm Beth.
And I'm Ramy. We're your hosts, here to talk about the stories that the history books ignore.
From horrific epidemics and ghostly hauntings to the catastrophes and tragic events that have sickened humanity.
Yes, welcome to our special short little episode.
Yes. First things first, you may have noticed this is coming out on Monday. We said it was a little special episode. It's because I'm trying something a little different. The regular episodes will continue to be released on Wednesdays. This is going to be kind of like Monday short episode. I'm going to call it Horrors in a Hurry.
What now?
Horrors in a Hurry.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Horrors in a Hurry. It's going to be just about the shorter topics that I normally would either stack on to other things to make a longer episode, or I just would choose not to do because it would be so short, but I'll still find them interesting, so I'm going to do this instead, and we're going to see how it goes. Also, before we get into this, we have a couple of good reviews to read off.
We don't want to name off anybody unless they tell us it's okay.
Yep.
So we discussed one we had a problem, and a fair problem, to be perfectly honest, just one we can't really address as well as we like. And if you want to leave reviews, we scour the apps as best we can for reviews.
Good Pods actually has this thing. I don't know if it's always been a thing or if I just now found it, but go Good Pods, because reviews from some of the other apps, like I believe the ones that I found were from Apple Podcast, they put on Good Pods where we're able to see them.
Okay.
So that was helpful.
Pocket Cast also lets you just leave stars. I haven't seen an actual review, but they let you leave stars.
Yeah.
So if you use that app and want to just leave us some stars, you just press the button. It takes you down to the description.
Yeah, we've got a few other reviews that are just stars and no comments. I think there's a few 5 stars, and then I think there's like 2 4 stars on another one.
Yeah. And if you just want to say hi or anything, or just let us know what you think, there's also emails in the description. We appreciate all the input, even the bad. Like I said, we'll try to address things if we can, fix them, or just give us ideas of what to cover. That's always nice.
Yes. The first one I have is someone saying, I love this show. So happy to have found it. The hosts have great chemistry and are very knowledgeable about their subjects.
We try. Now, we're not experts.
We're not experts.
Thank you so much.
But I do my best to try to get it right. And if I don't and somebody lets me know that it's wrong, I will do my best to correct it in future episodes. The biggest issue
she has is pronunciation.
Yes.
Of names. Same here.
Pavelia is one of my favorite haunts, and that's what drew me to this show. Pavelia is one of my favorites. That's why it was our first one.
I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
Yes, it's still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, you two. I will do my best.
I will do my best to sit and listen and react appropriately.
The second one is, I love the podcast. I'm curious as to whether or not y'all would be interested in doing a podcast on the Black Sisters of Christiansburg, Virginia. It's an interesting story. I look forward to future episodes. I've already scheduled it. When I found this comment, I put it in my episodes ideas notebook, and I've already put it on my monthly calendar. I'm going to try to have it out on the 25th, but I don't think I've heard of this before, so I don't know how long it's going to be, and I want to make sure I have enough research, get all the interesting and good and important information. Don't hold me to that. I'm going to try to get it out on the 25th, though, and I love getting recommendations or new ideas. The ones that I've had so far is mostly from family and friends, which is great. I love them too, but it makes me feel so happy to have someone that I don't personally know giving me an idea and telling us how much they love us.
We appreciate it. We really do. Not to our friends and family who don't give us ideas. We do appreciate the ideas, okay? Because we know they listen too.
Yes. I appreciate them too. I've been doing them. But the fact that somebody that doesn't personally know us took the time to type out a recommendation makes me feel great.
I had someone, I'm not going to say names, and I don't think it was a real name anyway because it was TikTok. Somebody commented that they love the show on TikTok too. Sent us a direct message. I'm the one that kind of monitors the TikTok account half the time.
Well, you have a TikTok and then I have a TikTok for it, so we have 2 different TikToks for it.
Gruesome Gaming Group covers all the podcasts, and
Horrific History and Hauntings.
It's just for this podcast.
It's just for this one.
It didn't make sense when we first started knowing that some of them probably wouldn't catch on, or none of them, to make an account for each. So I made a Gruesome Gaming Group one to cover all for their podcasts.
Before we get into our topic of today, which is the Trail of Tears, we are going to talk about this day in history, which is September 2nd still.
Yeah, it's a short episode. So
yes, we're recording 2 in one day. On September 2nd, 1885, 150 white miners attacked their Chinese co-workers in Rock Springs, Wyoming.
We, as Americans,
are
Not
horrible.
all of us. Not all of us. We do have a problem with whatever it was. The Irish, and then it was Chinese. It might not have been in that order. And then now with the Hispanic Mexican groups coming in, I always just have a problem with the larger groups of one type of immigrant at a time. I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, if you've watched the news, some people do, and that's just all throughout our history. That's been the case.
Which is strange considering we were all immigrants. It started out all as...
not all of us. Some American people were here first, to be fair.
well, yeah, I guess.
The others just kind of took it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of what we're going to be talking about.
Wonderful.
They killed 28, injured 15, and forced hundreds more to flee. Union Pacific miners had tried for years to unionize and strike for better conditions, but the company always won. The miners blamed the Chinese workers who had been brought in as strikebreakers, and they weren't interested in joining the union.
They would have to not get paid.
Yeah. The company's decision to let Chinese miners work the richest coal seams caused the white workers to become furious. So a mob of...
Well, they're the ones who were loyal, too. And cheaper. I would almost guarantee they were getting paid less.
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure. I have no fact. That's the way it seems to also work with American immigrants.
The way I'm thinking is if they were working for better conditions, they're probably working for better pay, and they're probably not going to be willing to pay new people if they're not willing to pay the old people.
I will not put it past the company just to...
be spiteful.
Reward the people who have been loyal and the ones who are certainly paying less. I don't know. We're no experts. I'm just saying it's not uncommon.
Yeah. The company's decision to let Chinese miners work the richest coal seams caused the white workers to become furious, so a mob of white miners attacked Rock Springs, Chinatown. Most of the Chinese fled, but those who couldn't escape were brutally beaten and killed. A week later, on September 9th, U.S. troops escorted the survivors back to town and many returned to work. Union Pacific eventually fired 45 white miners for their roles in the massacre, but no legal action was taken against them.
Yeah, they need the miners. Why would they? Just ignore it. We need these miners.
On to the Trail of Tears. In the 1830s, the U.S. government passed the Indian Removal Act, forcing thousands of Native Americans from their ancestral lands in the Southeast.
Who was the president?
I will get into it.
Okay.
There's actually two presidents that were involved. They were forced to relocate to what was once known as Indian Territory, but is now known as Oklahoma. This tragic event became known as the Trail of Tears, and it resulted in the deaths of over 10,000 Native Americans.
They had to march.
Yes.
Across the country, pretty much.
Yes. Though some citizens and missionaries opposed the government's actions, the policy was enforced, and it led to the displacement and suffering of numerous tribes.
And I don't believe they were given prime land either.
I don't think so.
And we've learned in other episodes we've done about nearby chemical storage and nuclear storage sites that they just planted near them.
I believe that's in one of our horrific hydro hellscape episodes.
Entire rivers irradiated and chemically altered because of the stuff they stored near.
In the early 1800s, the Cherokee Nation occupied a vast territory spanning parts of Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Alabama. An 1819 treaty guaranteed the Cherokee that their land would be off limits to white settlers. However, this promise was broken within about 2 decades. The initial Cherokee relocation involved around 2,000 individuals divided into 4 groups. This occurred voluntarily in 1837 and 1838. These groups traveled westward by boat following the Tennessee, Ohio, Mississippi, and Arkansas rivers. This journey lasted about 25 days and resulted in less than 24 deaths.
Only?
Only. That's still quite a few. Conditions were far harsher for the Cherokee that were forcibly removed from their homes by 7,000 federal troops. This was under President Martin Van Buren's orders. I don't recall ever learning about that president.
No.
Starting on May 26, 1838, General Winfield Scott's soldiers rounded up most Cherokees along with 1,500 slaves. They were forced to leave behind most of their possessions. Then they were herded into stockades and internment camps.
Why the slaves?
I don't know. Soldiers dragged women from their homes while speaking a language that the women couldn't understand. Children were torn from their parents, and the elderly and sick were pushed with bayonets to force them to hurry into the stockades. Reverend Daniel Buttrick, a missionary who served the Cherokee for 20 years, I also read in one source that he was a doctor for them. He described their suffering. It's a quote, "From their first arrest, they were forced to live like animals. During their travels, they slept on bare ground, were exposed to the elements, and herded together like hogs. In this way, many are hastening to an early grave.
Probably fairly close to him, given his concern.
Probably.
And that's what I thought. I thought of an animal herd, that they were just herding around.
That's exactly how it sounds. The unsanitary conditions of the internment camps led to the spread of deadly diseases among the Cherokee, such as whooping cough, measles, and dysentery.
Oh, no, that means they got poop water.
Yes. In June 1838, 3 military-led migrations left present-day Chattanooga, Tennessee, to embark on a westward journey by both land and water. The Cherokee were forced onto overcrowded boats, and this was described by Buttrick as offering little, if any, more space or comfort than livestock transported to market.
If you've ever seen a vehicle drive down the interstate, I know some people don't live near the farms like we do, but if you've ever seen large semis just packed with cattle.
And chickens. I feel so bad.
The chickens are, at least
they're like pooping on top of each other.
Yeah,
where our eggs come from, our local eggs that we buy in our stores.
It's awful. And that's exactly, that's how they packed them. They packed people up like hens and cattle.
Even the hens and cattle shouldn't be packed that way.
I agree. That's just how they did it, unfortunately. They shouldn't have been moved in the first place.
No.
I'm not saying that if they're going to do it, they should do it better. I'm just saying it's awful. The whole situation was awful.
Yes. Suffocating heat and drought worsened the conditions, making water scarce. While only 21 Cherokee died during the voluntary migrations, over 200 perished in the 3 military-led ones. The heat forced a pause in the relocations. When they resumed, the Cherokees managed the rest of the journey. I don't know whose choice that was.
Let us do it ourselves. We agree to go.
Yeah.
We're safer if we can do it at our own pace. Yes. We're moving. Just calm down.
They were then divided into 13 groups led by Cherokee conductors, and the federal soldiers only acted as observers. While the oldest, youngest, and sickest traveled in wagons, most endured the crossings on foot through mud and snow. And they were not prepared for this journey. They lacked shoes, but those who did have footwear, they only wore moccasins that were made of deerskin, not good for snow and ice. They were also malnourished, and they had to manage on a daily ration of salt pork and flour.
They gave them the bare minimum to what they could.
Enough to say, well, we're going to try to keep you alive, but if you die, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Is pretty much how it sounds to me.
That's exactly how it was.
The delay during the summer forced the Cherokee to march through a brutal winter. They had to break the ice for water, and the frozen Mississippi River halted their progress, which forced them to camp in deep snow and ice for weeks at a time. One of the groups took almost 3 months to travel 65 miles in southern Illinois. With the harsh winter conditions and disease that ravaged the camps, it claimed many lives, especially among the vulnerable, and they were buried along the way in makeshift graves. It's also interesting to note that gold was discovered on Cherokee lands in 1830, the same year that the Indian Removal Act was passed.
Oh, dear.
So the suffering and loss experienced by the Cherokee was horrific and completely unnecessary. They were forced to suffer, and many died from this simply because of greedy people and greedy politicians. And that is my short episode on the Trail of Tears.
Well, that was a terrible, tragic story. Not many laughs in that one.
No.
At least we covered some decent, fun reviews in the beginning. But when you have a podcast called Horrific History and Hauntings, you can always have happy endings. I really don't know what to say. If you enjoyed this sad story, we have we do have other podcasts or other episodes to listen to if you want to. We're part of the Gruesome Gaming Group podcast network. If you are listening, you know we have this podcast. We have Leveling Duo, which is a podcast me and Beth or me and my friend Dakota do about video games and stuff like that we really enjoy. We try to come out with one occasionally, but since we don't play brand new video games every week, we can't really do a new episode every week. But we also have Brother Knows Quest. It's a podcast where me and Beth here talk about tabletop role-playing games. Different one, try to do a different subject each week. And if you want to find those, there'll be a Linktree link in the description. The first link in the Linktree will be to the Gruesome Gaming Group homepage. It'll have all 3 of the podcasts there. You'll be able to see the most recent episodes, the old episodes, subscribe to whatever app you want. Or you can just Google any one of the names. You can find it. If you want to reach out to us, you can follow us on any of the social links that are attached to the Linktree, as well as the one that gets updated with the news and stuff is usually YouTube. We make posts on YouTube as much as and the podcasts also get uploaded to YouTube, so you can listen to them there. But any of the apps, if you want to join and follow that. And
I make a few TikToks a week.
Yeah,
here
TikTok. You
recently,
can reach it on
especially.
TikTok. We reach it on TikTok. We have TikTok accounts attached to it. One for Gruesome Gaming Group as a whole, and one for this podcast, which goes to Beth. We had people reach out, like I said earlier. I appreciate it. Leave reviews, leave stars, even if they're not great. We prefer to hear what's going on regardless, and we can try to fix the issues that people have.
And we like recommendations for future episodes.
Yeah, and there's also email account below the Linktree link if you want to email us. Gruesome Gaming Group goes to me, and Horrific History and Hauntings goes to Beth. But if you send something to one, it's obviously meant for the other person. We forward those along. If it's okay to say your name in a review or anything, feel free to say that, because we do tend to occasionally read them out.
I don't want to say any names unless you give me instructions. Yes, say my name.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Also, just contact us on the chat social accounts, and we're happy to just chat or say hi. If you know anybody that'd like to hear things like this or might have a good story, let them know. Let us know if they have a good story. There's a link in the description spot where you could give us a little tip or donation, however you want to put that. We use Stripe. It's secure, but we appreciate you listening regardless. Anything else to say?
Nothing that pertains to this, but I do have something interesting that happened. It was a few days ago. When Joey is working a 24-hour shift and I have to try to sleep by myself, I like to listen to these soothing sleep hypnosis things on YouTube, and it helps me to fall asleep.
Is that like Hypnotoad from Futurama?
Sure, yes. Anyway, I found this one, and her voice was so soothing and nice. It was manifesting abundance and wealth and luxury. It's supposed to manifest being rich, I guess.
Did it make you have nightmares or something? Why did this come up?
No, just listen to the dream that I had as I was listening to this. Like I said, it was supposed to be manifesting rich, luxury, wealth. In my dream, Papa J handed me one empty plastic bottle water. Then he handed me another empty plastic bottle. And then he handed me a third empty plastic bottle. And then the fourth thing he handed me was a whole $10 bill.
Even in your best dreams. Yeah.
A $10 bill. I'm like, even my subconscious is like, come on, be for real. You know better.
Oh, goodness. That's not her trying to get you to send us tips, okay?
No, it just made me think of it.
That's the way I saw, like, surely she ain't thinking they're going to feel bad and send her a tip.
Oh, no. I just listen to these because they help me sleep when he's not there. And it just made me think of how ridiculous. Even my subconscious is like, no. You get 3 empty plastic water bottles and a $10 bill.
Yeah.
That's all. Don't spend it all in one place in dreamland.
You might want to buy some water to fill those up. Okay. Well, that was a fun story. Okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Beth, for doing the research. I have been Ramey.
And I'm Beth.
And this has been HH&H. Bye-bye.